Ultima Final Fantasy, the ultimate in Final Fantasy podcasts. I am your host, Caleb Schweiss.
I am Joseph de Gaulier.
And today we are going to be reviewing another Final Fantasy game. This time it's Monster of the Deep, Final Fantasy 15.
Are people going to be wondering why we're reviewing this at this time?
Possibly, because we've been talking about reviewing Tactics
Advance, yes.
The reason why we decided to go with Monster of the Deep, there were a couple reasons. Well, only one of them self-serving. So first of all, you all know how busy we are, so that was kind of helpful to play a game that could only be 3 hours if you wanted it to be. So that was reason number one. Reason number two, they released this game as a standalone title. This isn't the episode Ignis, episode Gladiolus, episode Prompto bullshit that's DLC, which we have forsaken, but we might end up playing anyway, just because it's 15 stuff. But we'll decide on that later.
Yes.
And they're 2 hours each. This is a standalone title, so technically this falls under our weird little middle ground of sequels and prequels, which is, in fact, last season's content.
Yes.
Or this season.
The way it works, we did main series first. Anything closely connected to the main series that comes out when we're later on in our podcast run, we must then immediately go to there and review that.
Yeah, it's a feudalistic system here.
It's, look, we came up with a weird system. I know it. People are a little weirded out by it. Frankly, we'd still be in the late 90s if we did it in order of when the games came out.
Yeah, it would have been bad.
So I think I like this. I like it. Gives us a little bit of variety when something like this comes out. So, or if like another Fabula Nova Crystallis game came out, we could, then go do that.
Yeah.
Which, you know what I did last week? I actually listened to like our first 13 reviews last week. Yeah. And I saw the show change as it went along. Like, we didn't actually hit our stride. We hit our stride with episode 9, or excuse me, for Final Fantasy IX's review. There was the way we did segments was like there in that review, which is funny because a lot of people didn't like that review at the time. I listened to it though, and I was like, why don't people like this? I guess the sound quality is not as good as the other ones.
I didn't like it as much.
The FF12 review, I think, is like primo, and then on from there, we do the same thing every time.
Yeah.
But that was interesting to see kind of the show grow in that way, and that's like another thing. Like, we're closer to Final Fantasy 15 now than we will ever be in the future.
Yeah.
Technically. So as soon as this game comes out, if there's a sequel to FF4 that comes out in the next few months, then we would, of course, go back and do FF4's content. So I'm excited to review Monster of the Deep, a VR game, by the way, in case you're confused as to what this is. So you had to get that $200 PlayStation VR headset, which we had a listener mail in. And we really appreciate that.
Yeah, very kind of you, Chase. I really love that we have people to call upon to loan us shit that we don't feel like buying.
Yeah, so we're trying our best to like not break your headset while it's here. It's like, ooh, be kind to it.
Yeah, I'm trying to make
nice
sure
to
I
it.
like.
Here's the thing: I'm always afraid of putting an electronic device in Schweiss's hand because if it has a cord, Schweiss has a way of breaking it,
of messing up the cord.
Yes, and I, of course, had a kitten in my room. And kittens are, of course, famously love to bite into cords. And so I had to be very careful. The kitten was in another part of the house while I was playing this VR game. And then every time the cat would come in, I'd have to like take it off and then put it on a shelf where the cat couldn't reach it. So Chase, I'm trying to take care of it for you. Tell you what, buddy, this episode is dedicated to you.
Yeah, for your
Chase.
kind donation.
Yes.
/ loan. I guess more of a loan, but
so we'll send it back to you when we're finished with it. So Schweiss, are we gonna go? Do you have anything on development?
Not really a whole lot. I mean, as we all know, it's a virtual reality game that was released for the PlayStation VR, developed and published in-house by Square Enix. The game was initially released November 21st of this year, 2017. Of course, it's part of the big multimedia massive project that is Final Fantasy 15, from the anime, from the game itself, from the movie that came out before the game itself. All of it is all like one big group bundle. I know do you remember the first person shooter Prompto game they were kind of taunting? That's what this ended up being. Initially, they wanted it to be that first person shooter aspect, but they felt like the fishing simulator that they ended up creating with Monster of the Deep had a little more immersion into the game itself. So they felt like that was a better approach than just a standard like rail shooter, which is what they probably would have had with the Prompto one. I mean, I can't imagine they'd have that weird like port walk ability that they have in the fishing one in that game, but you never know. So yeah, there's like nothing.
There's nothing on
nothing
this.
Really
it's just
about it.
It's just, one of the B teams making a game to support the main game. $30 though, so you already have to buy the $200 headset, and then you get a 3-hour game for $30.
Yeah,
really appreciate that. It was nice. Money well spent. Thank you, Square.
Yeah,
just in time.
It was this is their first foray into VR.
Is Square Enix's
content
completely or Final Fantasy?
Square Enix as a whole.
All right.
And it is their business division too, so that's funny you mentioned
I got to say something about Square though. I have a portfolio of stocks in my IRA account, or it's mostly ETFs and mutual funds. And because it's an IRA, it's not a 401k, I have to manage it. So, great. The thing, I bought Square Enix stocks one day, and I talked about it on the show just because I was like, I got to support the company, right?
Mm-hmm.
They are winners. They are my winning stocks of 2017. My ETFs and mutual funds, they did okay. My Square Enix stock, I've made actually quite a bit off of it. So you know what, Square? I'm not against this now. Maybe I'm corruptible. Maybe I'm okay with them continuing to put out empty content.
Yeah,
but
empty fishing games.
Hey, my investment is doing pretty well.
Well, you gonna sell them off then?
I think I made like 17% increase in wow. I got them just a few months ago too.
You gotta sell, man, before it gets too
sell. It's not like that. You can't do that with IRAs.
Oh,
I could do that with individual stocks if I had a different type of account, but I can't do that there. Anyway, this is not a money podcast. No. That's all you got on development?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
It was going to be a shooter. They ended up changing it, and they've actually considered. At one point, they considered having similar content featuring the other party members as well. Though, funnily enough, they have no party members playable in this. Instead, you have a fat emo kid that I made.
Okay, we'll get to that in
sweet
story.
Yeah, sure.
Hey everybody, what's give me some comments, yo. Whoa, we don't have that many from today, do we?
Nah, that's last time.
Okay, that's from okay.
Hey, watching it on your new VR, nice.
Like I said, Joe quit and ran to Vegas. What? Full screen theater mode.
Oh, yeah, they're watching it on the VR.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Okay. You ready?
Yeah, fuck it. All right, so this game, the story is basically non-existent in this game.
It's not non-existent.
You play as a...
there's a tease as a big potato ending, and then there's a climax, and then there's some build-up. There's a story of some sort.
I suppose. I mean, you start out as a random dude that you get to create. You get your little character creator. It's actually pretty decently extensive from what I was seeing. I might be wrong. I was really lazy and just did like pre-rendered stuff because I'm like, I'm not gonna spend forever on this thing.
We talked about this on the FF11 episode. Tony Hawk Underground, PS2 era, the most extensive character creation thing I've ever seen in my life. Tony Hawk game, dude. These Final Fantasy games are like, which gay haircut do you want?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Mine is the most disgusting thing ever.
Trump's in office, so now I say gay again, like I'm in high school. Sorry, guys, that was a slip.
That's what happens.
Stupidest haircut. Which stupid ass haircut do you want, basically?
Yeah.
Which is just it. So you want the emo cut? I could not get anything that anything resembling a normal person's haircut in there. So you're saying it's extensive, but only extensive
if you're a freak.
Yeah, if you're a freak.
Yeah.
Or like a really stylish Japanese model, I guess.
Yeah.
Very Japanese haircuts.
Yeah. So essentially, the story of this is you are a hunter for the Hunter HQ, and you are a big time angler, right? So your character loves to fish. He lives to fish. He has his own little fucking cabin that has a nice little one-car garage that he pulls his hipster van, his hipster mobile up into, and all he does is sleeps, fishes, and sits outside with his Coleman camping equipment and hangs out. And there's cup noodles, and it's shameless, just like 15. But the story kind of centers around similar theme to 15. I mean, we have these daemons, right, running around, and there's like a high increase of demons in certain zones, and they find out that it's related to these specific fish that are like intense demons, and they're like bringing more demons with their demonic presence and shit like that. So it's like causing outbreaks, and it's making this kind of a big deal. And the game is set during the events of Final Fantasy 15. As well, because
while Noctis still had time to fish.
Yeah, everyone's still there. The story hasn't advanced like it does. There's no time lapse. It's during the events of the game, like the early events of the game, I would say. And so basically, you're tasked by our loving pal Dave, the man that we rescue from the shitter in 15 in the first hour. A very strange start to a Final Fantasy game, but. We reunite with him via text, and he sends us little missions and objectives, and we're basically just running around to certain sites, fishing certain areas that were part of the game. I noticed some of them were areas that you could fish in the game, and like it was...
Yeah, there were areas I recognized.
Yeah, areas
Under
that I recognized for sure,
stuff.
yeah. And the one where you like go down the bridge where you got the ladder and the staircase and stuff.
And there's the big main pond in the main area, which I just forgot the name of.
Sky?
Sky, yeah, that one.
So a lot of cool little areas, and then you basically keep doing quests until you find the ultimate fish, the true monster of the deep. And the interesting part about this game, and I guess this is kind of gameplay, but the story, for the most part, you're just fishing, right? But then you get to these boss fish where like it turns into, and this is kind of where I can really see the Prompto first-person shooter VR really coming to fruition, where suddenly your character puts away his fishing pole and he pulls out this fucking crossbow with like explosive
Don't
tips.
you don't bring that with you to fish?
I have not yet, but I will.
But you've
from
never
now
had
on.
to fight the monsters of the deep.
That is true. They were more like monster of the shallow.
Yeah, more like the rainbow of the trout.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go.
State fish.
It is, yeah. It's basically all I've ever caught here. But you go in and you usually what you have to do is like lure the fish out. You kind of have to piss the demon off by catching other fish and like pulling him out of the lake and like grabbing his attention. And then he'll have this big old cinematic where he bursts out of the water and like taunts you. And then you have to do this rail shooter-esque shooting mini game with your crossbow. And we've got the VR headset on so we can turn all the way around to shoot at these guys. And like certain bosses will have certain weak points, so they'll like jump out of the water and there'll be like weird little water clones of them that'll shoot bubbles at you. I died to that guy once, which was shameful. It was the only guy other than the final boss I died to, but
I didn't even know you could die until the final boss, so
yeah, it's
I'm gonna
bad.
hold that over your head.
Well, I'm gonna hold over you how many times you fucking died to the final boss.
We'll
over
get to
your
it in
head.
gameplay, don't worry.
But so like they have your own like first person shooter crossbow mini game when the bosses come out, and then you you end up basically beating them into submission with crossbow bolts / explosions, and then you do one final cast, and then you kind of reel them in, and then they explode.
Yeah. Every time I did that final cast, I was thinking of Goofy movie.
Oh, really?
It was like the perfect cast. By the way, my father, I live with my parents now, in case anyone didn't know that. I had the door open, and I was doing this game because I, of course, live with a kitten, and his food is in my room. And just the look on my father's face when he was like, "Hey, Joe," like I barely heard him because I had the headphones in and I got a face mask on. And I realized I had a moment where I was like, I know how ridiculous this looks.
Yeah.
I'm taking my controller and I'm like swinging it.
Yeah,
I got the face
fucking
mask on.
giant-
And by the way, I had the TV off. I just had the face mask
Yeah.
on, so it's not like you could see anything. I was just like in my room like a crazy
It's
person
like-
wearing this stupid thing that makes me look like RoboCop. And then, doing little casts over and over again because the controls on this thing are not
They're not friendly.
not exactly precise. Doing the cast with my PS4 controller over and over again, just like I looked like a freaking moron. I'm sure my dad just had a moment of shame.
He just closes your door and walks away.
A single tear.
It's no son of mine.
Yeah.
It does look fucking dumb. Like I saw myself because when you turn the PS4 on with the camera on, it like tries to recognize you. And I saw myself with the thing on, and I'm like, that just looks ridiculous. Like, and that's why I was laughing so hard at the idea of like someone walking in on you, like watching VR porn with this giant headset on. Like it's the middle of the night, and all they see is the blue light, like this whoa, and like your pale, pasty flesh.
Yeah, I see it in the middle of the day, power stance whacking it. My back turned to the door, and I think I hear a noise.
You
My
just turn
head turns back, and it's just
VR, giant blue. It's crazy looking. It is way too big. But yeah. So the game story, you don't play as any of the characters, but like I said, you make your own character, and you do meet up with characters from Final Fantasy 15 throughout the game. But it's really, other than Noctis, it's really light. I mean,
I love fishing. Fishing
Yeah.
is the best.
Yeah, Noctis has like an obsession with fishing, as we all know from Final Fantasy 15.
You know what's nice about Noctis? That he likes something.
Yeah,
There's a lot of Final Fantasy characters, main characters, that don't get a moment to enjoy something. I realize that about Noctis. It may be, in fact, the thing that makes him both emotionally troubled enough to, get, that essence of the story that you need, and then also likable enough because he had this weird, totally innocent fishing I mean, unless you're like one of those people who's like against killing animals. He has this totally innocent fishing obsession that is like
Ignis kills him. He
a
doesn't-
180-degree kind of turn away from that, and you see Noctis in a happy place. So I appreciate the character building.
Yeah,
Right now, I'm thinking about it. I appreciate the character building of that in 15, and you know what? I didn't mind it here either.
yeah. It's kind of cool. I mean, you meet up with the other guys. Promptos is kind of a waste of time. You just kind of meet up with him, and he's like taking photos. They kind of just have like a moment where he's photographing you taking or capturing fish. And then the boss shows up, and then Prompto's gone. But the Noctis element of the story is kind of cool. There's one moment where like a demon shows up, and then Noctis is like, "Whoa, there's a demon here. I'm gonna take care of the demon. You take care of the fish." And he like warp strikes over, and he's like attacking this demon on the side while you're like fishing and trying to capture this or shoot this beast down with his crossbow.
It was like the ghost fish thing.
Yeah, that one
And
was.
the bubbles of death.
Yeah, the bubbles are annoying.
Then there was the crazy shark in the water.
Yeah. Oh, another important aspect of the story, before I forget, Cindy likes to show up like just about every 3 car trips.
I like her to show up too.
Yeah, I do. It's pretty shameless in this game because like she comes over, she rings your doorbell, and she like, you answer it, and then everything's fine, and then she gets all pissy when you get too close to her when she's repairing the car. But then you jump in the car, and she's like bent over, just like
yeah.
I'm like, what are you even looking at? Like I know what I'm looking at.
I didn't need to
but-
look up. VR porn on our friend's headset. By the way, I would never do that.
Yeah, of course. Why would we?
Never masturbate.
He
with
told
that
us
thing
to.
on.
He told us to not. So
I didn't actually. I was
No.
thinking about it. I was thinking about it real hard. If you know what I mean.
no comment.
But then I did not. I had the other cheap VR thing to find out it's not that great.
Yeah.
Anyway, Cindy, yeah, a lot of bending over.
Yeah, unnecessary bending over.
No, very necessary, I would say.
And she does it for like a minute, and she's like, "Oh, are you heading out?" And she finally stands up, and then she leans over and like got some major cleavage in your face. And it's weird though, because the characters in this game, they all seem really short. Like, did you notice that when we were playing? Like,
No.
they all seemed to me like they just seemed like midgets. Like Cindy seemed like she was like 5'1".
I think different characters were different heights, but
I don't know, Noctis felt the same way.
really, you thought so?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what height they were or what height your character is in their viewpoint, but I didn't think of them as short.
Yeah, it seemed like a weird proportion based because of the VR thing, but I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
Okay.
But yeah, story's pretty simple. You're just a hunter.
It's a nothing story, really. It's
Yeah.
you got this big potato beginning where you see the end of the. You see the fish come out of, which is pretty actually an incredible image of the fish coming out of the water for the first time. And I never played anything VR before, so I had the headset and I was like, "Oh, geez, you actually like feel the scale of this fish."
Yeah.
You know, coming out of the monster of the deep, coming out of the water.
Yeah.
And then, of course, it goes to the title screen, and then you start out, oh, you're a fisher, and you got to do these little fish things, and then eventually you'll hit the monster of the deep, 3 hours later, because the fucking campaign of this thing is short. It is so short. So I'm not going to say the story is satisfying, but at the same time, does it need to be because it's a fishing game?
Yeah. I don't think so. I think it's fine. I think it's serviceable enough. I don't think anybody's going to go into this game thinking it's anything other than what it is, which is their first foray into VR.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a story centric game. I mean, it's fishing. Like, we all played fishing in 15. We know what the fishing is. We just expect it.
See,
in VR
now the artist part of me wants to go, well, what can we explore? What can we make fishing be outside of that? So obviously the story wouldn't be the fishing itself. The fishing would just be like the in between, the character building time, kind of like the driving around in FF15. Then the real story is something else.
Yeah.
Like a love story between two people while they're fishing or something.
Some
I don't
weird
know.
Brokeback Mountain
I don't know.
shit
Yes,
going on.
I don't know why it has to be gay, but we
Well,
can
it's
do
a
it now.
man's
Sure.
hobby usually. You hate
Sure.
to be sexist, but most of the people I know that fish are dudes, and they drink. So I don't know, when you're drinking and
Okay.
you're alone.
You're a little drunk, a little tipsy.
Yeah, you just kind of want to plow something. There you go.
Plow some
plow
some man
plow
ass.
some buddy, some friend.
Me and you are alone in this room right now.
Yeah, I got some beers.
Oh God. Why can't I quit you?
Yeah. So maybe they could have done a love story, but
I'm just saying, there's for the future of VR, which we'll have a section about. I think there's some exploration to do there. Let's talk about gameplay.
let's do it.
Oh, there's some comments, some commentos. You want me to stream the porn? Let's not.
Oh, you think
Day Joe man. looks
like a dad ready to go to his kid's softball game?
Oh, thanks.
He's ready to go to Craig's softball.
Yeah, going to go to Craig's softball game. Yeah. Because, apparently I'm 45 and he's 16. So that's nice. It's not a year older than me or anything.
Yeah. We're glad you're enjoying the stream, Jay. It's good to be out. Square just pulled some stuff out of their butts just to have VR. Yeah, kind of. I mean, it's like I don't know, maybe it's like an expectation for a big studio to have something out, and they wanted to play around with a new toy.
Which episode is the best in your opinion? Oh, she's
15.
talking to Stalis. Okay. Really enjoyed the tactics review because they didn't blow it. And then he thinks they're talking about the review. So appreciate that. Thank you, Jay. Season pass. Okay. All right, cool.
Yeah, we haven't done anything with Season Pass or Comrades.
I'm gonna wait till it's all out. I think
The Comrades looks pretty cool
Before
playing multiplayer.
before we do it, maybe we should do it after the Evil East games are done. Revisit 15. I don't care, Jay. I appreciate it. Thanks. We got nominees coming up at the end of this episode, so that'll work.
Yeah.
Gameplay.
Alright, so VR. Like we said earlier in the episode, this is
Virtual
our
reality, in case you're lost.
Yeah, in case you're not sure what this lingo is. This is our first foray into VR, basically at all. I mean, I've played around with a couple, like watching a Cirque du Soleil thing on Dwayne's phone, and I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. Like, whatever. It wasn't a game. It was just an interactive video.
I watched some porn on
Yeah.
the $10 headset I got from Walmart.
Oh, there you go.
I watched it with you guys in the room too. I wasn't beating off. I stayed away from my crotch area. I was just like, how does this look? How does this feel? And
Underwhelming, right?
underwhelming for that.
For this, though, I think-
PlayStation VR is a lot better.
Yeah, I mean, even when you start up the game from the very beginning, I mean, even the menu is completely interactive with VR. I mean, it starts out and it says Monster of the Deep, and you're underwater, and like you see one of the big fish, and he like swims by, and you can like
You're
look
floating
around.
in the water. And
Yeah, you can look around 360 degrees and just see everything under the water, and it's really cool.
it is.
Legit. And it kind of, at this point, it sort of looks like shit, still a little bit.
The resolution on the screen in front of your face is not high enough. But we'll talk about that in design, I think.
Yeah, the overall though, the gameplay, it was kind of jarring at times. And near the end, I kind of got the casting down for the most part, but I still feel like it's almost like the OG Wii. Like I'd be playing Wii Golf and I'd have like a 2-foot putt, and sometimes I would do it like I've done every other 2-foot putt in my fucking life, in real life and in this stupid game, and it would just like. I would just like pull out my driver last second and just crush these things.
It's not quite up to snuff yet.
Yeah,
I
and
do think part of it is the game.
It
and
might
the fact that we're using both of us, I think, use the PlayStation 4 controllers instead of the little sticks,
yeah.
Which I think the sticks, I'm assuming because they're made for this kind of shit, I'm assuming, I don't know because I haven't tried it. I'm assuming it's a little bit more sensitive to you. The PlayStation 4, I think, only can feel the movement. I don't know if it can really feel the speed that you're going. And then, of course, like when you release, so you hold the X button, just like you do on a like real fishing pole, where you have like the lock on the string.
Yeah,
and then you pull it back, and then you let it go right as you're like casting.
Yeah.
You do the same thing with the X button there, and then you use the little the left stick to reel it in, almost as if it were a real fishing pole. It's not quite the same movement.
Mm-hmm.
I think the sensitivity of the cast, especially, I had a real issue with this game.
Especially in the beginning. Like I spent a long time.
It was either right in front of me or way the fuck out there.
And it almost felt like no rhyme or reason as to why it was right in front of you or way the fuck out there. Like I would do like a nice, high arcing cast, and it would go really high, and it would land like 3 feet in front of me. And then I would do like a really short, like hard one, and it would go all the way across the pond. And I'm just like, fuck. Near the end, like I said, I ended up putting myself a little bit further away from it, giving myself the space I needed, and I'm pretty good at it
Give yourself
now.
some space, dude.
I'm pretty good at it now, but the direction sometimes is still kind of fucky. Like I'll throw it, and it'll be like right where I want it, and then I'll miss a little bit because I went over, and I'll like call the line back in, and then I'll throw it out again, and it'll be like off to the right, even though I did the same exact motion. And
Luckily,
like,
it's not the most realistic fishing game because
Okay.
reeling all those bad casts in would not be fun.
No, I would not want to play this game if I had to do that.
Yeah, so luckily, if you do a bad cast, you can just press the circle button and it brings it back, and then you can do it again. So that's the fishing part of this game. When a fish catches on, it's basically like FF15, where you move it from side to side, only you actually physically move it from side to side instead of using the stick like you do in the game, and then you reel it in pretty much just like you do in 15. The controls are very similar. On top of that, and then when the fish gets to you, you you fling up the controllers in a way that like, oh, I pulled in the fish, I guess.
Yeah,
and
you
then,
pull it out of the water.
Then you can drop it into your basket, or at least you can do the movement. I don't think it actually matters if you physically drop it into your basket or not. That like pops up after you get the fish.
Yeah, you press circle and it goes auto.
And it goes away. Then during the boss fights, which I think there's only like 5 actual like levels in this game.
Yeah, there's not very many.
The boss fights, we talked about it before. You have to catch a certain amount of fish or a certain weight of fish, and this little bar comes up, and when that bar gets full, then the monster comes out in whatever level you're at. And you got to shoot the monster multiple times, get his health bar down multiple times, and then usually it'll have 3 stages to the fight. Eventually bringing out the crossbow to shoot him and whatever like things he's spewing out to hurt you. You don't have a health bar, which I thought was insane.
Yeah, the screen just gets more and more red as you like get closer to death.
Yeah, I wish there was a health bar.
Yeah, that would have been a little easier.
So there were times when the screen got red, and I was like, "Is this just them saying this is intense or not?" Turns out you can die in this game.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was all the fights were really visually pretty cool and like pretty fun, and the crossbow mechanic is much better than the casting mechanic.
Yeah,
luckily
it's pretty accurate.
So the boss fights were, I mean, there's not that many of them, but there's a good variety of like what they do. They all sort of build on each other. So I enjoyed that aspect of it until we finally got to the final boss, and then shit went crazy.
Yeah.
Which is certainly part of gameplay. I mean, how do you think the crossbow handled? And
I think it did handle a little bit better than the casting. I don't know if that's necessarily fair to say though, because the casting, it's like a one and done thing. The crossbow, we pull up our controller and we see the little aiming reticle, and then we adjust to it. So like then we're like, oh, okay, and then we move it around like with ease, right? But the casting, like there's not really a reticle necessarily where you're going to cast, so it's kind of
this thing is definitely made for shooting.
Yeah, it's made for rail shooters.
If you're using the PS4 controller, especially.
Yeah, if you're using that, it's made for something like an Area 51 game or like a House of the Dead, something like that.
Or Doom, but I've heard the Doom VR is bad.
Yeah, I heard the Doom VR sucks, so we shouldn't touch it. I think that's what this is made for. That or like horror games that have light combat, like Resi 7 is supposed to be.
Umbrella Chronicles, Resident Evil, I could see on the Wii. You know, those games.
Yeah.
I could see something like that in VR just being perfect for it.
Yeah.
And I've heard the Resident Evil 7 thing, which I'd never seen any gameplay of, so it might be similar, it might not be. I'm sure that Resident Evil is perfect for this type of gameplay.
Yeah, it's made for. I think it's made for horror and shooters.
Yeah.
2 things I don't play that.
And eventually, when you get the PlayStation 4 game room, where they just a bunch of construction workers come into your house and build a room for virtual reality gaming, then of course it will be made for other games. And you'll have like this movable treadmill surface, so you can run around in game. You know.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. So you can get your real.
I'm thinking of the future, dude. I'm thinking of the future, bruh.
Yeah, there's that in gameplay. I mean, you have kind of similar options to what you had in 15. You can buy new rods, you can buy new reels, you can buy apparel, which I bought like the Kenny the Crow shirt, and then I stopped because I started saving up for everything else.
So outside of the campaign, there's also hunts you can do, which are just like big crazy fish you got to get.
Yeah, usually. There was one that I did.
Are there some that are like boss fights? Because I only did one hunt.
There aren't any boss fight ones, but there's one where I had to catch 18 fish. And it was funny because like Alex and I were going to go, I had to go do something with her. And I was like, oh, just let me do one of these hunts real quick. And I jump on one, and then I'm like, oh shit, there's 18 fish I have to catch. So I'm just like, fuck, hurry. Just throwing it out there. And they're in like 10 different pond areas. And there are a couple that are like that. But for the most part, they're just kind of asshole fish. Like some of them are real fuckers too.
Asshole
like
fish.
They if you pull or if you reel in at all while they require you to like pull to the side, they are gone. And they'll like twitch. They'll be going to the right, and so you have to like kind of lean to the right with the controller to sort of lean into the fish's pull. And he'll be going right, and then he'll just snap to the left, and then he'll pull off. So you got to be like really fucking careful for some of those hunts. I think right now I'm a level 6 hunter, rank, and there's 10 total.
These
and
old fishing ranks,
Yeah, I think I have 17 more hunts to do or something like that, and then I'll finish that up. I plan to get the platinum at some point, but I probably got to give Chase his his VR headset back, and plus I need to start beating some games for the hog competition over on Nude Clan, so that Craig topples. Not sure if that shit's gonna happen, but
oh, I hope it does.
it definitely
Just
won't.
quit your job.
It definitely won't while I'm playing fishing for 70 hours trying to catch every fish. But it's got a similar thing to 15 as well. You've got a fish bestiary. You can pull open and you can kind of look at every fish. There are, I think, 106 or so fish in the game. So it's going to be a grind to get everything. I'm basically going to have to just go around and fish the lakes dry, push these to the brink of extinction for the sake of a trophy.
Okay, they restock them.
Yeah. It's all like a weird factor, like these dudes in like hazmat suits just come in and like pour fish into the lakes. That's why they're all so fucked up too. They're freak fish because they just got done experimenting on them.
Oh.
It's a big conspiracy from the Lucians. That's why the one guys took him over. It's because the king was fucking around with science.
I liked the gameplay, but it was obviously we're seeing early VR. I mean, not super early VR because this is. I guess they tried the Nintendo dealio like a long time ago.
Yeah.
But it's still not where it needs to be.
Yeah.
And it could just be this game. I don't know. Certainly, I went into the VR Playroom thing that PlayStation 4 automatically, gives you the option to install when you put it in that VR headset.
Yeah.
That had better stuff in it. That was a lot more streamlined and definitely was something that that Sony was like, hey, this is what you can do with the VR. And this game is, in the gameplay department, not up to snuff in that category, in my opinion.
Yeah, I still think it's fun to play, though.
It is fun. It is fun. And you know what? It honestly made me go, I should get a fishing license.
Really?
And then I realized, oh, yeah, every time I've gone fishing, I've hated it. So,
Do you never catch anything? Or
when I was a kid, I seem to have been able to catch things. Ever since I was like older than 11, after my puberty kind of ended, it's like, you are now cursed to never catch a fish again. It's like so that could be part of it. I'm not getting the excitement of actually catching a damn fish.
I think it's fun when you go on like a big hike camp trip and then you take fishing poles and fish for your dinner. That's when it's fun.
Oh, so you don't pack food, so...
Well, you do, but you just kind of hope you get some fish too because you don't have that much food. But then it sucks because if you lose all your lures...
It's one of them survival camps.
Yeah.
Come on, guys, we'll go there for 3 days and be drinking spruce tea, which actually is not bad. You find a spruce tree and you get the leaves out and you boil the water in there. It's actually pretty good. And then we'll go fishing and one of us will never catch a fish.
Yeah, the other will have to keep us both alive.
Yes.
I think it's a pretty fun game, and I do want to get all the fish, and I do want to get the platinum trophy, and it's part of it's because it's a Final Fantasy, and then another part is because I do genuinely enjoy playing it, and I want to kind of see what kind of bullshit fish I'm gonna have to catch near the end of the game. There's a lot of stuff I have to buy. I'm glad you told me what the tickets were because the sad thing about this game is no one's played it, so there is nothing online about it. Like there's nothing in Reddit, there's nothing anywhere. So I was like, I have 205 tickets and I have no idea. Like I scoured my house.
You spend them in the tournaments.
I was looking around. I'm like, what the fuck, man? I'm like, can I sell them? Tournament for Gil? Like,
you got to go into your car and scroll over to the tournaments area.
See, I only did the one tournament when Noctis. I think it's part of the story.
Yeah.
Noctis is like, hey.
No, yeah, there's online ones with other people.
Oh, are you serious?
Yeah, dude. We could, in theory, I'm not sure because I didn't go into it because I know my internet is terrible. In theory, you can go and you go into certain tournaments using your tickets, and within a certain period of time, you're supposed to catch like the most fish or whatever and get ranked against other players.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So there's an online element to this game that neither of us explored, but I did the hunt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are a lot of those, and they're pretty enjoyable. I think they're You just kind of go to a certain zone and you like pull out your little radar gun, which shows you exactly where the fish are at that particular moment. You look for the ones that are pink, and that's the boss fish, and you go catch it.
Nice.
The lures are specific to certain fish. They won't bite if it's not
just like 15 in that way.
Yeah, it is.
There's certain you can get information on certain fish. It'll tell you, okay, this is the type of lure that it wants. This is the type of bait that it'll likely catch onto.
Yeah.
So you can use that information when you're going to buy that kind of stuff, which of course you have to do the hunts in order to buy that.
Yeah, but
so I didn't get deep into it because I was like, I'm done with this game right now.
Yeah.
After the campaign was over, but I decided to do one hunt.
Well, you're like 3 games behind in Nude Clan, so you got to finish them where you can.
One game behind in Nude Clan. So Zelda's not for 2 weeks after.
No, Zelda, Fable, and Shadow of War.
Oh, Shadow of War! Come on, it was reviewed. It was reviewed.
Gotta have second opinions.
No,
that's what we'll call it.
I'm
second
not spending
opinions.
$60 for
second opinions with Joe.
No,
you don't have to spend 60.
That's not gonna happen.
If you're gonna leave FedEx, you're gonna have enough time to.
There's
just
very specific things that will be done. So, sorry, Shadow of War is just gonna be a. It's just not going to be on there. Sorry, guys, for the Nude Clan talk while we're on Ultimate Final Fantasy. But Nude Clan is a great video game podcast if you want to check it out. Okay. I'm not going to even go into separate sections for these two things because we're not going to talk about it for very long unless you really want to. Design. How does the game look?
It kind of looks like shit, but then it kind of looks awesome at the same time. I love the VR, the 3D feel of it. I think that is done very well. I think it's more impressive than most VR movies or 3D movies that I've seen, because I hate fucking 3D movies. I hate them. That's how I saw, I think, Rogue One. I think we had to see in 3D because it was the only fucking showing that was available. It looks like shit. Every time, I hate it.
Well, there's a difference between movies that were filmed in 3D and movies that were in post made in 3D. Disney
That's true.
Always does in post.
Okay, because Gravity looked great.
Because Marvel movies will never look great in 3D. I watched Iron Man 3 in 3D. And I was like, is this even in 3D? Because it doesn't feel like it's in 3D.
That's how Clash of the Titans was. I was like, okay, Zeus is just really shiny. That's like the only thing that's different is like I can't see Liam Neeson at all.
The thing is, they get the higher ticket prices doing that, so they make more money for it. And it's fine.
Yeah, but they don't spend any more fucking money for it.
It is slightly more immersive, and also people are not fucking checking their phones in the movie theater when they're in a 3D movie. So I kind of like it because of that. But the other thing is there's certain movies that were made for 3D and are being made for 3D. Like, once again, of course, Avatar, which is the big one, Life of Pi, Gravity. And there might have been a couple. Hugo is another one where it's just like movies that were made to push the 3D movie thing. So I'm kind of disagreeing with you, but I'm kind of agreeing with you at the same time. There are certain movies, though, not filmed in 3D. When they're not filmed in 3D, the 3D is never that great.
Yeah, I would say this game looks pretty great for the 3D itself.
Yes, the 3D, the game looks pretty great.
I mean, the resolution is pretty low overall.
The screen's resolution is low because I don't know if they're using like a 1080p screen and it's like right in front of your face, so you see the zigzags, you know? And then the resolution of the game itself is also not very high. But, you know, I'm playing a VR thing. I'm not playing a regular PlayStation 4 game. So in my mind, it's not a big deal.
Yeah, I understand that this is probably pushing my system right now. I mean, I have a regular PS4. We don't even have PS4 Pros, which are made for the VR scene. So I'm like, you know, it's not a big deal. And like we've said before, it is kind of in its infancy. This new VR.
Sure. It's like a toddler face.
Yeah. Like we've done it in the past.
It's standing, it's falling, it's not.
Yeah. I kind of want to play the Battlefront one where you're in a fucking TIE fighter. That sounds like it'd be bitchin'. But this game, I don't know. Graphically, I think it's fine. It's serviceable. I could definitely tell there's room for improvement in the VR scene, and it's almost kind of surprising that Square Enix put out something that doesn't really look that great. But then again, this is the first VR game I've played, so I don't know really what to put it up against.
You should go play in that before you send that headset back. You should play in the PlayStation 4 VR.
Does it look a lot better?
Thing. It's cartoony. So, I mean, Final Fantasy goes for like a hyper-realism thing with sort of anime elements. So it's different in that respect, but I think the graphics do look, but it could just be because they're cartoony. They look smoother, better in that respect. So yeah, the design's not that great, but at the same time, I don't know what to expect, I guess, on the VR. So whatever. Music. It's just Final Fantasy 15 soundtrack with some like rock tracks when you're
some
pulling
strange
in the
metal
hunt thing.
I'm like, this seems intense for fishing.
For the boss fights.
It's almost as weird as playing like the old Tiger Woods games and like a Saliva song comes on and I'm like, this is wrong. Like I like golfing and I like rock and metal, but they don't really go together. Like, not really.
I was fine with it. And you can turn the music off if you want. Unfortunately, it's only the 15 soundtrack. Because I went into the menu for the music or whatever, and you can turn it on and off, and it was only the 15 soundtrack. You couldn't get the old Final Fantasy tracks.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That would be a good opportunity for that.
It'd be cool if you could bring like the music you have on your PS4, or like pull in Spotify and
shit.
So
that'd be
just,
sweet.
Like, hanging out, you know.
There you go. That would make it worth $30.
Wouldn't work for the stream, obviously, but
yeah,
it would be fun. So yeah, soundtrack. It is basically just 15 music. You got some weird like cabin fishing music, but that's all the same too. Just pulled it over. I'm glad the boss fight music returned though. That was kind of nice.
Yeah, I liked it.
It was good.
I asked one question on Twitter and our forum, so let's. I guess it's a question from us to you. Do you got the jingle?
Yeah,
we can just play it.
We asked you guys to give us your thoughts on Monster of the Deep /VR, and we got a couple responses. We didn't expect much because
short notice. No one's played this game.
Yeah, no one has the really expensive VR headset.
Yeah. And also, it wasn't said on the show; it was said in Twitter. So for our Twitter followers only. So we got 3 responses in our forum, which is nice, and then. Couple responses on the tweet whore.
Yeah. So here's what the question was: if you played Monster of the Deep, what did you think? Also, what are your opinions on virtual reality games? Are they the future or are they a fad? Gage says, I used to think VR was a fad, and there are a lot of gimmicks out there, but also some one-of-a-kind experiences. Resident Evil 7 and Superhot are 2 of the best gaming experiences this year. Games just need innovative creators like Justin Roiland and his team making accounting. I think the future is bright. Okay. Alistair says, I haven't played and suspect many viewers are the same, but if we go from what we've seen, I'm impressed by Monster of the Deep. It looked bigger than I thought. However, I have personally played a demo of Superhot and it blew my fucking mind. VR has potential, for sure. Jay Helton writes, I have not played and will not play Monster of the Deep just because it doesn't look very fun. However, I really like the idea of VR gaming. I have a VR headset that you can set your phone in, and it's really cool to play games and watch videos with 360-degree rotation, etc. Graphically, if a game looks good and the VR does not hurt my eyes, I feel like that it would be my preferred way of gaming, as I like to block out all of real life when playing a game and really engulf myself in a world that someone has made.
Okay, I got some responses on Twitter. First, Skull Hottie said we may be the first ones playing Monster of the Deep.
The internet seems to agree.
And then Bill Matunica said you may mean only ones. So that's nice. It's nice. We're not the only ones. I did have to look up a YouTube video to help me beat the final boss, which of course I had to do 8 times, and Schweiss only had to do 3 times. So
yeah, 9 people have the platinum for this. So just keep that in mind. Although
average completion 23%. It doesn't tell you how many people bought it.
It says there are 145 game owners that use PSN profiles. So no one bought this game.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Ooh, that is a deep financial failure. That's Schweiss.
If we look at FF12 on this site, 29,461. So PSN profiles.
Oh, it's only for PSN profile. Okay.
Yeah, but that's still FF12 remaster has 29,000, and this game has 145. There's still quite the drop.
Okay, so we don't actually know like what percentage of people have PSN profiles.
No, some people have private profiles, and I don't think their info shows at all.
Okay, all right. Well, then that's not a judgment on how many people actually beat
it. I think it's a judgment on how many people have it. Ish.
It's definitely in the tens of thousands.
Yes.
Okay, Chris Jappert, Godzilla podcast listener, which I really appreciate. He says, I have an HTC Vive, and I enjoy playing Space Pirate Training and the lab on it. They are fun, and there is a lot of potential for them, I think, so I vote on the future. Chase Sariaslani, that's the person who gave us our VR headset.
Yeah,
VR games definitely have a pathway. There just needs to be more people working on it. And Breaded Christmas responds to him by saying, I'm actually pretty pumped to play the backlog of solid VR titles I have, but haven't had the chance to play. Also, some of the AAA games that have come out in the last month look promising. Definitely think next year I will have some more interesting surprises, and maybe even to VR 2.0.
Maybe. Stola says he's pretty sure Monster of the Deep was backed by Sony, so he doubts there was that much of a loss. I think Monsters of the Deep was Sony's like little dance for me jig to Square Enix. They were like, "Hey, we got this new PlayStation VR thing." So
they already spent $200 on it. So
game.
You guys should make a $30 game that's really like $10 an hour.
I think I got. You know what? I think I got some DLC stuff, but I don't even know if I renewed it. Like I pre-ordered the game like a day before it came out. I was like, "Oh, pre-order bonus." And then it was like $30, and I was like, "Ooh!" It just felt steep, you know.
Here's what I think. Right now, and I'm not a person who has looked up anything on these VR things. As soon as I heard all this VR shit, I was like, "It's a fad, and it's gonna be done at some point." And some people will have it, these high-priced VR items, and they'll have fun doing it, but because of the price that's kind of in the way of consumers, like the average consumer buying it, it will never take on what normal gaming has in the near future. However, I enjoyed my time playing this game enough that I was like, wow, if this thing was half the price and this game was $5, totally. I'd totally be up for a $100 PlayStation VR experience with a $5 3-hour game. Don't like the price point. I think that's a real big problem. And of course, I don't know how much it costs to make these things, and the hardware that it had to do in order to like retrofit the PlayStation 4 in order to play this damn thing with its like little separate box, 12 HDMI cables and all this other shit.
Yeah.
On the next round of consoles, I can see it all improving as like a standalone thing that's battery charged, that costs half as much to make and to buy. Then I think VR could really have a future. Or we get the hologram stuff that we got in the Minority Report movie or something. So that's the way I could see this becoming a thing. I wish I could change the frame rate on it. I tried to watch a movie with the VR thing because I was like, maybe it'll be like I'm in a movie theater. And it sort of was, but it was at 60 frames a second or whatever it was for the VR. So the movie didn't look right in that way. So I was like, oh, well, I guess this is only
It is like a movie theater, though. It gives you that screen. And you're like, oh, cool. But then it's, I actually started Fellowship of the Ring because I was watching it.
Then it's 60 frames a second. It doesn't look quite right.
No. And it was funny because I was in midstream and like I checked my trophies while I was waiting for the loading time. And I accidentally clicked on the disc because I'm so used to the disc being the game, you know? And it just booted everything. And everyone's like, what the fuck? Where'd he go? And I'm like, I was like, hang on, guys. I got to watch Fellowship.
just chill for like 3 hours.
Yeah, I'll be back.
Yeah, I might have to take a bathroom break in between. No, so I really liked it. I think the price point is wrong. I think another way that this could go for the future of VR, I don't know how many people have thought about this. I think a lot of gamers are certainly like homebodies. They want everything home-centric. But what if you had like these VR businesses that are out there, like The Void in Salt Lake, which we still need to try out sometime. Yeah. And there's a few other. I think there's a VR thing here in Provo that's down the street that we haven't tried either. But what if that was like the movie theater, almost, where you go to these VR places and you try out the big games, and then eventually, like a few months later, they're released onto the home market VR systems. Like I could see that becoming a sort of a market in that sort of respect. That could be a lot more financially substantial, instead of like one gaming company just making it for one system and thus kind of like making their audience really narrow. If they made it like they do the movies, then I think that could be an interesting way to go, and that could make VR kind of more of a cultural force than what it is right now, which is niche.
Yeah.
So I got excited by it. I didn't think I was going to get excited by it because of my lackluster VR porn experience. But
Yeah.
but the game and the PlayStation 4 headset versus, my phone screen with the little eye things, much better experience. And so I'm excited to see where it goes in the future. I don't know how the technology is going to change. Are we all going to be... I'm a little scared because one of the books I listened to this year was Fahrenheit 451. Are we all going to be just strapped into these things, like into our own like VR experience, and we're never going to see our own real life? I think there's a lot of business people in VR who would like that to be the future. I'm not that excited by that notion, but then again, and I certainly don't think that it's not at the point now where we're getting a simulation of real life, because we're still feeling real life around us,
Yeah.
And the game is just like this invisible thing that only the controller can really, mess with. So I don't think VR is going to be as big of a deal in the next 10 years as people want it to be or think it will be. I think it'll take quite a few years past that in order to get to really make it easy, where like you put on that thing, you do a small adjustment for your vision, and that's it. You don't have to have some this headset is a big, heavy, honking thing that is asking you not to use it because of the 12 million hookups you have to do.
Yeah, it's a pain. Yeah.
So
and charging your controller while trying to cast it, not gonna
when
happen.
when it becomes all streamlined and the batteries are improved and everything's cheaper, maybe. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it still.
Yeah, and I kind of want to explore a couple more titles. But that is one of my big pains, I think, is going to be the price tag. Because if this thing was $30, I mean, how much is the TIE Fighter game going to be? Is that going to be $30 too? Because if it is, I don't think I'm going to find myself buying it. Like, I know we've talked about the shows buying a VR headset, just because then we'll get to experience more gaming and kind of be part of the new scene. But I want one because it's really cool, but I don't want to pay $30 a game. I think that's far too much money, and I know what kind of content they're going to have. I know how long they're going to be. And I mean, sure, there are a ton of fish to catch, but I'm almost done with the thing. Like, other than catching every fish, like, there's not a whole lot left, and then that just becomes a grind.
That's definitely certainly part of it is just the game itself. Is limited, and maybe the other stuff. Maybe the Resident Evil 7 really is that good.
Yeah, I mean, this game is limited, and I mean, the only way it's not limited is more of the limited content. Like, there's just more of it. That doesn't necessarily mean it's better or more enjoyable. It just means there's a lot.
Okay,
the variety's not there.
Legacy of this game. I think we can both agree there's not really a legacy, and it looks like kind of a dud. Yeah. Someday the price will go way down for whatever future VR thing they have. And at that point, maybe people will play it.
Yeah, there are a couple reviews I saw here. People are basically saying it was hard to muster excitement for it. Didn't really enjoy it. I'd see a 7 out of I see a 7 out of 10 review from Destructoid, a 3 out of 5 from Game Revolution, and a 1.5 out of 5 from Hardcore Gamer. This one review though, I was really laughing at when I read it earlier. He said. It's Megan Sullivan of IGN was generally impressed with it despite conceding simplistic gameplay, citing a sense of immersion and nostalgia impossible to feel without virtual reality. He concluded that he began to tear up with happiness. This was his first taste of VR, and although I knew I wasn't really in a car, driving down a road in a world where behemoths dwell and humans can magically teleport, just for a few minutes. I felt like I was. That's IGN. That's
Are
why you
people
can't
just
trust
really
IGN.
easy to be? All right, I'm not gonna.
He probably absolutely loves the prequel movies for Star Wars as well. Hate to bring Star Wars up again, but you know what? For all those people who complained about us talking about Star Wars, Final Fantasy is Star Wars, so suck it up. It's been Star Wars since the beginning.
Didn't hear any complaints about us talking about Star Wars, so
I have felt them.
You felt them?
I sensed a disturbance in the.
I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Okay. Overall thoughts on this game? Worth it?
I think so. I'd probably pay $15, maybe $20. Try to get it when it's on sale a little bit cheaper. If you have the VR headset, though, what's another $30? You've already spent the $250, so screw it.
Here's my thought. I think the VR is worth $100 in my mind. The VR headset is worth $100. So I'll wait till the next generation when it's going to be fucking cheaper. And then this game on top of that worth max $10.
Yeah.
So overall, I like the game, but the price point was just like,
The sick thing is
the show did not buy it, by the way. I bought this game.
Yes.
And so I hurt now knowing that I bought a game I played 3 hours on for $30. And I'm just going to be pissed off the rest of my life.
Are you ever going to go back to it?
Never.
You're not going to just try to catch
Not
all the
unless
fish?
someone gave me a PlayStation VR.
Well, what if we bought one with the funds?
Even then, I would try the Resident Evil thing before I play it. Well, this is just more fishing.
Well, yeah.
And I'd rather just fucking fish.
But you wouldn't, though, because you hate fishing. At least this way you catch
that
stuff.
too.
This is fun fishing.
I will give. I tell you what. Let's give fishing a try this year.
Okay.
Me and you will go down to Sportsman's Warehouse. We will get some fishing licenses and some cheap fishing poles and some dealio-yos, the bait. I don't know why I was having problems finding the word bait, by the way, and a cooler. And we'll go up into the mountains. We'll have sex and we'll fish.
All right, let's do it. That is the way of the fish.
All right, Schweiss, the most important part of this review, the ranking. Now, we only have 2 games in the Final Fantasy 15 universe. It might be kind of hard. I know how much you were disappointed by Final Fantasy 15. But Monster of the Deep versus Final Fantasy 15, where are you going to rank it?
I am going to...
Stay as far away from the mic as possible.
I am going to rank it slightly above. No, I'm kidding. I'm going to put it below 15. No way. 15
Which had better fishing?
You know, that's a tough question. I liked the fishing in 15, but I think... What I think would be really cool is
the crossbow. You're right.
Yeah, the crossbow made it worlds above. Like it was like, you know what? Your guy was like, "Fuck this! I'm not catching this with a pole. I'm shooting this thing." I think it would be cool if they like patched 15 in a way that allowed you to do the fishing in the game with the VR headset. I think that would be so cool.
Oh, you're right. That is a totally good idea that they will not take.
Probably not. No.
But as a partial holder of stock in Square Enix, I suggest to Square Enix that's a really good idea.
I also suggest that
I would also not put that $30 price tag on that option.
Yeah, make it part of the game.
Yes.
Don't make it.
My ranking, believe it or not, is the same. I'm putting Final Fantasy 15 as a more solid game, but I enjoyed my time in Monsters of the Deep. In fact, I enjoyed it more than Revenant Wings. So, yeah.
I probably did too. Yeah. That's kind of sad, isn't it? A fishing VR game beats out
it legitimately is pretty sad.
So what's the bottom? What is like the bottom of the barrel for us? It's Dirge,
either Dirge or Revenant Wings.
Dirge, Revenant Wings, this thing, 10-2. Like it's just
10-2 is a good point.
It's just the soup of shit down at the bottom. Like
honestly,
there's
this. 10-2. I wouldn't mind like the playing of it. Not bad. Which one's cutscenes do I hate the more?
Yeah.
10-2 is going pretty far down.
These ones, the cutscenes are only like 30 seconds long. I mean,
yeah,
it's not a problem for this game.
Well, thank you so much, guys. This was a nice full episode considering the game was 3 hours long. Thank you for joining us on Ultimate Final Fantasy. We're still running the contest for the reviews, so you're going to have like another 2 weeks to do that. There's one more thing, one important thing we need to get to. So the review's over. For those who only listen to the reviews, you don't have to listen to this part. We need nominations for our UFF Podcast Awards, which will probably be the first week of January. Next week, we'll do a commentary on Kingsglaive. Kingsglaive Revisited. I heard my Advent Children mic went out halfway through the last episode, so I'm sorry about that, guys. There's no way for us to fix that. So I hope you enjoyed the one-way conversation from Caleb Schweiss.
Yeah, Joe was talking a lot more than I was, so.
Oh, yeah, that's great.
You could hear that.
Nominations. I'm going to put these areas in the forum, so ultimatefinalfantasy.com. Go to the forum. I will also tweet these links out, and Schweiss will also retweet those links, right?
Yeah,
he's at UFF Podcast. I am at Joseph DeGolier. We need nominations for Best Episode of 2017 for Ultima Final Fantasy, Worst Episode of 2017 for Ultima Final Fantasy, Best Rant, if we had any that you really liked on the show, ideas for who should get the Audience Maximus trophy this year, and we also need nominees for Best non-UFF Final Fantasy show.
Yeah.
So
who do you listen to that's not us, that's obviously not as good, but the best of the rest?
Yes.
That's what we
the
should
best
call
of the
it.
rest. No, we had what did we call it last year? Was it the Mother Uffa
I think so, yeah.
Award or
Mother
something
Effa
like
Award.
that?
Yeah, we sent one to a couple shows.
Yeah, so we'll get the nominees next week, and then the week after that will be the voting, and we're going to switch all voting to Twitter because we found out the poll plugin that we've been using on our site is very, if you listen to Nude Clan, you already know this, it's manipulatable to a point where it's just untrustworthy. So we're switching the polls over to Twitter. Anyway, guys, I'm done. What about you, Schweiss?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Stolas in the chat brings up a very important aspect of the game. When you're walking around with your hands in front of you, you can press R2 and you can do like a slight grip.
Oh yeah,
So like all day, I was just like looking down towards my crotch, doing the slight grip, and like just slightly gripping everything.
Yes.
With my tiny
Sydney
hands.
gets mad at you though. She's like, you need to give me some space.
Yeah, she's real pissy with you.
Yeah.
Like, get out of my space, please. Trying to work here. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Fine.
You weren't this much of an asshole in the game. What happened? Prompto not live up to...
Well, I can't just molest you whenever I
yeah,
want.
well, the fuck is this? If I can't do it in real life, why can't I do it in the goddamn game? Yeah, it's fucked up. But yeah, the slight grip, I was really laughing at that. Like the little squeeze, and you can like control the amount. So like whenever I'd see people, I would like do the little like thing, and I'd like play with their chins. Like Noctis would get all close, and I'd just rub underneath his chin and shit. It was fun.
All right, guys, need your nomination, so please go do that. As soon as this episode is released, it'll be all the forum posts will be up there for you. Anyways, guys, we'll see you next time.
Yeah. Until then, enjoy the grind. Got me with my pants down there.
Sorry.
Ultima Final Fantasy is a podcast created by Geekdom Entertainment and is executive produced by Joseph DeGollier, Caleb Schweiss, Caleb Gregg, and Cameron Wilson. To find out more, go to geekdomentertainment.com.
Okay, guys. Well, I'm just going to sit here until Caleb Schweiss decides to cut off the stream.
Yeah, thanks for hanging out. Yeah, Bill Mardigan for Audience Maximus. You've been freaking gone forever. You weren't even there for 14, man. Where were you when we needed you the most? Yeah, thank you for hanging out with us, guys. A little shorter of an episode this week, but you know what? At least it's a live episode.
It's not short. It's over an hour.
Yeah, it's.
I've been watching that time.
It seems so low though. Like when we have hour 40s and.
When we have episodes for games that are longer than 3 hours,
maybe we'll have more.
Sometimes they go to the 4-hour mark, but actually this episode is longer than our Final Fantasy 1 episode and our Final Fantasy 2 episode. So
that is true. There is probably more story in this than Final Fantasy 1.
That's not true.
I would argue that it's pretty fucking close.
All right. Well, whatever.
Yeah, we'll see you guys later.